Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Today we're going to continue with our exploration of Apple's Shortcut app. That's the app which runs throughout the whole of the Apple ecosystem. We've done a quick introduction which was a few weeks ago. What I'm going to be doing is starting a series of videos, and in this series we're going to bit by bit build a number of shortcuts. The idea is we're going to keep these videos to about 10 to 15 minutes in length, and in each one we're going to build either a whole shortcut or part of a larger shortcut so you can see how it all works, how you can use the different areas within the Shortcuts app and build some really powerful automations. So join me now over on the computer, we'll jump in and we'll take a look at today's shortcut. Here we are over on the computer. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do the first stage in a whole series of videos where we're going to start building up some more complex shortcuts. How I like to build a shortcut is I like to do it step by step. I'm not going to push, I'm just going to do literally one thing at a time, test it and see how it goes. Adds a little bit of time when you're actually doing the coding, but I've got to be honest, it makes it an awful lot easier when you're trying to work out if things aren't working and why they're not working. So on the screen here, we've got the main Shortcuts app. I'm going to go and add a new shortcut. So I'm going to click here on New Shortcut. I'm using two screens, and the problem that I've got is I click on that and then it creates a new window on my second screen. So I'll drag that down. Here we go. We can now see our shortcut. What I'm going to do is give this a name. I like to give it a name that describes what it's going to do. Now, because I'm doing this as part of this video series, I'm going to start them with vid and a dash, just so it's obvious what it's there for. I actually do have a shortcut that does this already, but I just thought we'll go through and build one. I'm going to call this list to hashtags. Why I'm doing that, what we're going to do is we're going to pass in a list of items, and then the shortcut is going to process through that list, remove any unnecessary spaces, and then convert the output to a hashtag. Where this comes in useful, if I'm saying posting a list of tags to YouTube, but I want to use the same tags on Instagram, rather than having to type them all I do is I run this, passing in the list of tags from YouTube, and it does all that conversion for me and gives me something that I can then easily paste into Instagram. So what we're going to do, well, I'm actually going to just check that it works. So I'm going to create an alert. So to do that, I know I started typing. Over on the right hand side, I've got here search for apps and actions. Now I want to give an alert. I know it's called alert, which is why I'm just typing that. But here we've got an entry called show alert. We've also got one called show notification. Which do I want to use? Well, if I look at the eye and click on that little eye, it gives me a bit more information. So here it says displays an alert with a title, message and two buttons. Sounds like what I want, but let's just check. What's this show notification? Well, this displays a notification. For what I'm doing, I don't want a notification. I want to get an immediate alert, which essentially stops the processing. Whereas with a notification, it fires it and then carries on. So I'm just going to drag that in. Now the default is it has a message, do you want to continue? I don't want that, so I'm going to highlight that message. I'm going to right click in it and say insert variable. The variable I want to insert is the shortcut input. So this is what is passed in. So if I click on that, that gives me this extra little input box, and it's received any input from nowhere. I'm going to click on any. There's loads of different types of input, but I don't want most of this. I know I'm going to be passing a text list. So what I'm going to do is unselect all, and then I'm going to go down the list and say write text. So we're now saying receive text from input. All well and good. I want to test this now, but to test it, well, I need to pass in some input. So I'm going to go and create another shortcut. So back to that main window, click on plus. That's created a new tab in my shortcut editor. Give this a name. I'm going to call it vid test. Really simple name, isn't it? What I'm now going to do is say, well, how do I test this? Well, I need my list of items. So I need some text. So I'm going to say, well, over here on the right hand side, I can see something called text. If I click on that, it passes a specified text. So let's drag that in. You can double click. I tend to drag things in. So what am I going to pass in? What I'm going to do is just going to type some lines. I'll be back in a few seconds. So I've built up the list. What I've done deliberately, so the first line and the second line, they've got spaces between each word and the number. Third line, no spaces between the words. And then the fourth line, no spaces at all. Right, what I want to do now is I want to use this and pass that in as input to my vid list to hashtags. Well, what do I want to do? Well, we think about this. What I want to do is run a shortcut. So let's see, is there a command called run shortcut? So I type in run. If I look down the list, yes, we've got one there, run shortcut. Again, I can click on the I if I want to. What I'm going to do then, drag that in underneath my text. So now we've got this little line between the run shortcut and the text. If I click show more, that's because it's assumed that I want to use that text as an input, which is exactly what I want to do. And then I need to tell it, well, what's the shortcut I want to run? Click on that blank shortcut and I'll search for vid list to hashtags. There we go. Let's run this now. So to run it, we've got the little arrow here. If you hover over it, you'll see the word run. Click on that, you get a message. Because I'm trying to run another shortcut, the way that Mac works, which is what I'm using for this, is it wants you to give permission for virtually everything. So I'm going to say I want to allow vidtest to run another shortcut. And then that shortcut runs and it fires off and it gives me an alert with what was passed in. Brilliant. So that's what we're expecting. I'm going to leave that vid test. We're not going to actually change it now. I'm going to go back to the main one. So we move on to the next step. Here, what I'm trying to do is make sure that the text that's passed in is just not an empty string, because if it's empty, well, we don't really want to do anything. So what I want to say is, if it's not empty, I want to do something. That sounds like we want something which starts with if. So let's go and search for if. Looking in here, the top entry, if. Again, you can click on the I. That's what I want. I'm going to drag it in. I'm going to drag it in near the top, so it's just after that received text. So once again, it assumes that the input to this was from the previous step. So I'm going to say, if the shortcut input has any value, means it's got something. Does not have any value, means there's nothing there. Well, I want to say, does it have a value? So I say, yes, if shortcut input has any value. Then it will do what's in the next block. Otherwise, so that means if it doesn't have any value, it will then do what's in that block. I don't care about the otherwise because I just want it to drop out. So I'm going to get rid of that. I click on the little X. So now we've got if and we've got end if. I'm going to click on this show alert and I'm going to drag it up and put it inside that if block. Now I'm going to go to my test. And there we've got that message again. So all working well. This is what I say. I like to do things step by step and test them as I'm going through. I now look at what's passed in. So let's go back to the test one. What I'm doing is I'm passing in a list with commas and each item's on a new line. So what I want to do is split that incoming text by new lines. So what we'll do is I'll think to myself again, what do I want to do? I want to split the text. Well, let's try looking. Is there anything called split? Yes, there is. Look, we've got split text. Click on the I. Again, tells us what we want to do. I'm going to stop clicking on the I now. You can explore that yourself. So I'm dragging in that split text and I'm putting it in just after that if shortcut input. Because if there's no input, well, what's the point in doing it? So we're going to split the text. Then what do we want to do? Well, we want to go over that split text one line at a time. This is where the words start to get a little bit different. The way we need to think about this is we want to repeat some steps for this. So we're going to type in repeat. Again, two options, repeat for each or repeat. I want to repeat for each item that comes out of that split text. So I'm going to go and drag that repeat underneath the split text. Again, it tells me repeat each item in split text. I'm going to drag my alert up so it's within this repeat loop. So that means for every item that's split out, we should get one alert. But I'd no longer want the shortcut input. So I've clicked on shortcut input. I'm going to click on clear. I'm going to right click and we can see here we've now got two new entries. Well, we've got three new entries. We've got split text. That's the whole text in one go. Repeat index and repeat item. I want the repeat item because I want it to tell me what is being said in the item. Let's go and test this. We run test item 1, test item 2, test item 3, test item 4. Brilliant. We're moving forward quite nicely, aren't we? But when we look at it, let's run it again. We've got a comma on the end of each line. Not really what we want, is it? We just want that text. Just click OK on there. There we go. So we're going to go back, and now we've got split text here, but we've got that comma. Well, what do we want to do? We want to split it again, don't we? We want to get the text before the comma. So let's go back to split. I'm going to drag another split text inside this repeat item. So it's already picked up. We want to work on the repeat item, but we don't want to break by new lines now. We want to break by commas. So I'm going to click where it says new line. The options are spaces, so where there's a space, every character, or custom. Well, I want commas, so it's got to be custom. Then it asks you for the separator, so I'm going to type in there, comma. With your own stuff, you could have all sorts of combinations for this split. I'm just using comma because it's easy, and it's actually interpreted by the YouTube tags quite well. So now we're splitting this down again, but that means we also need to have another repeat because we're going to have multiple entries. So let's have another repeat for each. So that goes in. So we've got repeat for each item, and it knows it's in this split text. Let's drag the alert inside there. Now, repeat item, that's talking about that outer one, isn't it? That first repeat. So we no longer want that. That's not going to give us the right answer. We want to clear it, and then what we want now is repeat item 2. This is the item that's coming out of this split. If you want to see where it's coming from, click on reveal, and that then highlights the line it's coming from. So it's coming from split text, which is coming from repeat item split by comma. So go back. Click out of that. Right, guess what we're going to do? Let's test it again. So now we're getting test item 1 with no comma. We're getting a blank line though, aren't we? Test item 2, no comma. Oh, a blank one. 3, oh, blank. 4, again, we're not getting exactly what we want. We don't want all these blank lines. We just want the lines with the text on it. So what do we want to say here? Well, we want to say if the repeat item 2 has got some text. So let's go in. We want to do an if. We want to repeat item 2. Again, what we want to say is it has any value. We're not bothered about if it doesn't, so we're going to get rid of the otherwise. I'm going to drag in my alert, so now we'll only see an alert where repeat item 2 has any value. Let's run it, see what we get. Yep, that's right, we want that one. So hopefully the next one will be test item 2. Yes, it is. Then 3, then 4. So now we've got rid of those blank lines. We're moving forward really well. What's the next thing we want to do? Well, we said we want to get rid of spaces, didn't we? So what we want to do is we want to replace the spaces with essentially nothing. Well, replace, that's what we're trying to do. So let's see, is there something for replace? Yes, there is. Look, we've got replace text. I'm going to drag that into that if. And this is where we start thinking about it. So what I want to do is I want to replace a space. So I'll just type a space with world. Because it's showing world there in pale blue, there's actually no text in there. So if you leave it blank, it takes out that space. It essentially deletes the space. Click show more. What we can do here, I'm not going to worry about these, but we can say it's case sensitive. So say we wanted to replace uppercase A, well, we'd put uppercase A in there and leave case sensitive. So if it was a lowercase a, it wouldn't be touched. We want to test it again, don't we? Now, we no longer want repeat item 2. So let's clear that. What we want, I've right-clicked, going down to variables. We want the updated text. I would have liked that to have said replaced text, but they call it updated text. So now when we run it, there should be no spaces left in our strings. Let's have a look. So click on the arrow. Yep, no spaces. We've got test item 1, test item 2, test item 3, test item 4. We're getting really close. So we've now got a list of items where we've replaced the spaces with nothing, which is good. What we want to do now is we want to start building up our hashtag. This is the string that we want to see at the end of this. So what we're going to do now is we're going to work with a variable. I'm going to start by creating a text box, and I'm going to drag that underneath the replace. This text box, I'm going to leave it as is. Now, the way I'm going to work with variables, this is just one way. There are quite a few different ways to do this. But what I want to do is I want to set a variable. So I'm going to find set and variable. Here we go, set variable. I'm going to drag that underneath that blank box. Then I'm going to set a variable and I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it output text. And if I spell it correctly, there we go, output text. And I'm going to set it to that empty box. Then I'm going to say now if. And drag that if in. And this is where we start getting important about the otherwise. So I'm going to say if the output text does not have a value, so if it's empty, I'm then going to say what I want to do is I want to set some text. So I'm going to drag in a text box into that if. And what I want to do, well, the output text is already empty, so I just want to put in the hashtag. So I'm going to put in the hash. Then I need to put in the name of the text that I want. So if I go to my insert variable and it's the text with no spaces I want, so updated text, that's it. Then what I'm going to do is say set variable, drag that down, and to make sure I get my spelling right, I'm going to just copy and paste. So I've highlighted that, I've done Command C, I'm going to set that down here and Command V. So I'm going to set the variable output text to this new text, which should be the hashtag and the updated text. But if that output text already has a value, well, what I want is the current string plus a space, then the hash and the hashtag name. So what we do here is I'm going to say, right, we're going to look at the otherwise. So I want to set text again, drag that into otherwise. So I know there's something already in output text. So what I'll do is I'll right click, I'm going to say insert variable. And if I look down here, can you see there, output text? So I'll select that. Then I want a space. Then I want the hash mark again. And then I want the updated text. So let's go down, updated text, there we go. And then yet again, I want to set a variable. And that variable is output text. So what's going to happen is we're going to go in and hopefully we're going to build up that string. We're going to look at the show alert. Well, that show alert, that's now no longer needed in here because we're looking at each individual line. What we want to do is we want to look at it at the end. So after all those repeats. And what I want to do, I've right clicked. I want to see the output text. Just select output text. Let's look at this and see if it gives us that one line with all the hashtags on. So we run it. We've got test item 4. So we're not quite right. We need to look at what's going on. Again, this is why I say do it one line at a time. Let's try to debug this. I'm going to debug it by adding some alerts and just so I can see what's happening. So I'm going to put an alert. I'm going to drag that show alert to just after that new if statement we'd put in. And I'm going to clear that out and I'm going to look at the output text. So select my output text. So now after each line we should start seeing what's in the output text. So let's go and run that. Test item 1, yep, that's right. We just got test item 2, we don't have that first one. Same with test item 3, same with test item 4. Well, what's going on here? Let's go and look. Well, what's going on, if we come and look, inside our repeat, we're setting the output text to blank straight away. We don't want to do it each time we go around the repeat. We want to do it once for the whole program. So what we want to do is we want to move these somewhere else. So let's look in our shortcut. Well, where would be the best place? Well, the best place, to be honest, would be up here near the top. So right where we're coming in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here. I'm going to select the text. Now I've also pressed shift and clicked on the set variable. Hopefully that means they'll both move at the same time, because that'll be nice and easy, won't it? I'm going to click down and I'm going to drag it up. But unfortunately that multiple click doesn't work. We have to do it one item at a time. So I've dragged that up. Then I've realized, oh no, I've dragged the wrong one. This is the one with a hash mark. I'm going to press Command and Z. That will undo it. And we're back down to that if statement. So let's look. This is the one where we're setting it to blank. That's what I want to move. So I'm going to press and hold and then drag that up to the top. And also my set variable for that first one, press and hold, drag that up to the top so it keeps it together. Right, let's run it now. So test item 1, we expect that it's the first pass through. Oh, that's looking better, isn't it? Same with the third one, same with the fourth one, and then that final one shows me them all. Brilliant, we're almost there. What I want to do now, I want to get rid of those alerts, don't I? Because I no longer need them. But to make it easier for me, there is another step I'm going to add in. So just before I get rid of this final alert, what I'd like to do is take that final output and I'd like to put it into the clipboard so I can easily paste it into another program. So is there anything to do with the clipboard? Yes, there is. There's get clipboard. Well, if we click on the I, passes the contents of the clipboard to the next action. Or there's copy to clipboard, which copies the result to the clipboard. I want to copy to clipboard, so I'm going to drag that in. It defaults, because I've put underneath the end repeat, to copy the repeat results. I don't want that, so I'm going to clear it. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say the output text. So I want to copy the output text to the clipboard. Let's clear that out. I'm now going to drag in another app that I use purely so we can see the results of this. So this is an app called Drafts. It's a really good, simple text manipulation tool. So I'm going to call this test output. And what I'm going to do, just to show you what's in there now, I'm going to right click and say paste. So we've got the word output text because we copied that when we were building the shortcut. I'm going to come in here. I'm now going to run the shortcut. I'm going to say run. It's run. We get this bottom result here when it's finished. I'm now going to go back to drafts. I'm going to put a couple of new lines and then I'm going to paste again. And here we have the output string with hash marks with the spaces stripped out. So this is just the first step in a massive number of shortcuts we're going to build. We will build on this in the next video where we'll start looking at, well, how can this be useful to us in our day-to-day work? I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Now, yes, I know this is a fairly simple shortcut that we've built, but it's one that you can easily adapt and start to use it to learn how to use the automations, how to use the shortcut app. And that's part of the reason for these videos, is to just try and get you going, give you some ideas. Please drop any comments, any questions down below. I'd love to start getting your ideas, your questions about where I need to clarify things. I'd also like to get your ideas for shortcuts that I can build. That way we can help each other to build up an amazing shortcuts library. Please hit the thumbs up button every time you like, every time you comment. Just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.